Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Chimera Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of my incredible patrons. Once a month, patrons vote on what commander they'd like to see in an upcoming episode, and the commander that gets the most votes wins. And the commander that got the most votes for this month is an underrated commander, one that I believe, well, players might be sleeping on, and it packs quite the punch. And that commander is Wurmspeaker, a 3/3 human druid that costs 2 green, and it says worms you control get +2/+2 and have trample. And on top of that, by paying 7 and a green, we can tap and create a 4/4 green worm creature token. This build is going to cost X less to activate, where X is the greatest power among worms we control. So Baru is a worm tribal commander, one that, well, not only pumps our worms a ton, again, +2/+2, and trample to help get that damage through, but on top of that, it can be a token generating machine. Now, if we don't have any other worms out, sure, there is a hefty cost for that first worm, again, 7 and a green, 8 mana in total. Again, we are obviously in green, so we've got plenty of fantastic ways to ramp and get ahead on lands, so we can activate that, get our very first worm, and yeah, once that worm is in play, again, it is a 4/4, but it gets that +2/+2 and trample, so it's a 6/6 trampling worm that also reduces the cost of that ability for future activations. Again, reducing that by 6, that is just going to be 1 and a green instead, 2 mana in total to activate the next time, again, for a 6/6 worm. So yeah, this is very efficient, very effective after we get things going. And of course, there are ways to use and abuse this ability, and also other ways to pump our worms to make that cost even less. Yeah, we can basically start making worms for just a single green mana every single time. And of course, we can make multiple worms in a turn quite easily. Now, with this deck tech, I'm going to be taking you through different tactics to show you how this deck works and how we're going to win with it. And of course, on my deck techs, they are budget friendly. So yeah, every single card in this deck, including the commander, is less than $1, so it's a very budget-friendly deck. And of course, if you are interested in this commander and in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. And now with all that said, let's jump into it. First up, of course, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. We can pay 2 to tap and sacrifice to get a basic land into play tap. But of course, we've got plenty of other great ways to ramp. Search for Tomorrow, another great turn 1 ramp card. Suspend 2 for a green. Get a basic land into play untapped. Wild Growth, enchant one of our lands, it taps for an extra green. And Fertile Ground at 2 mana is going to allow us to tap for any color with that, land essentially on top of it. But yeah, we're in a mono green deck, so it's going to be green. Next up, though, we've got some other great turn 2 ramp with Rampant Growth. Basically get a basic into play tap. Sakura Tribe Elder. Steve, the exact same thing, just sacrifice it to do so. In Edge of Autumn, kind of similar. Hey, if you got 4 or fewer lands, you can go get that basic land into play tap like Rampant Growth, but if you maybe have more, you can just cycle this away by sacrificing a land, so it can replace itself. Moving on, we've got Cultivate. Go get 1 force into play, tapped, and 1 into your hand. Gruff in the Ashes. Go get 2 lands into play, untapped if you kicked it, or just 1 if you didn't. Nissa's Pilgrimage. Hey, go get even more force. If you've got Spell Mastery, you get to go get 3 forest cards instead of just 2, and get 1 into play, tap the other 2 into your hand. Overgrowth, another great 3 mana card, though. Hey, enchant one of your lands, and now it's going to tap for an additional 2 mana. Yeah, an extra 2 green. This can ramp you quite quickly. Migration Path and Vastwood Surge are each going to get us 2 basics into play. Tap. Migration Path can also be cycled if we need to. And Vastwood Surge has Kicker, and that can get even more counters on each creature we control. 2 extra counters on every single one of our creatures. And yeah, again, keep in mind that does help impact our cost reduction for our commander's ability. And then finally, at 6 mana, we've got Verdant Mastery, and this is Renewal. Verdant Mastery can actually be cast for just 4 mana if we need to. We're going to be giving one of our opponents one of our basics into play tapped. We get, though, 2 into play tapped are on our control, and 1 into our hand. Or again, it's going to be 2 into our hand if we paid the full cost of the spell. This is Renewal, 6 mana. Go get 3 basic lands into play tapped. Gain 7 life. Yeah, there are plenty of fantastic ways to ramp and get way ahead of our opponents. And speaking of getting ahead of our opponents, well, we've got Glorious Sunrise that can help us out in a lot of ways. Here we go. Beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. Target land gains tap, add 3 green until end of turn. Draw a card if you control a creature with power 3 or greater, or you gain 3 life. So all great options. Again, that first one, I mean, in combination with our commander, double trample, not really a thing, but that extra +1/+1, again, can be great, turning our worms into 7 power creatures, making it so our commander's ability, again, gets that full reduction down to a single green. Or if we need to ramp, we can make one of our lands tap for more. Or if we actually want to, draw a card, we're going to have plenty of opportunities to do so because, of course, our commander itself, well, has 3 power. And, of course, so do our massive worms. And speaking of power, Gaia's Anthem, another great, well, anthem, of course. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Again, just a simple anthem like this can make a massive impact and save us a lot of mana throughout the game, making our worms into 7/7s, ensuring that we can reduce that cost even more effectively. Now, with this build, I am actually not focusing on utilizing a lot of worms. Surprisingly, actually. Again, it is a worm tribal build in a way, but my focus is slightly different. We'll get to that here in a bit. That being said, one worm that I am using is an incredible one, and that is Bellowing Tangleworm. It's a 4/4 worm with Intimidate, and other green creatures you control have Intimidate. Again, the worms that our commander is making are, green. So therefore, all of our green worms are going to have Intimidate, which means that they can't be blocked except by artifact creatures or green creatures. So there's a lot of players that we can get through with our army on. So yeah, we've got that trample, which is nice, but yeah, unblockability, even better. And again, if we get Bellowing Tangleworm out, we can reduce that cost of our commander's ability very quickly. Samurai Convergence, another great way to get worm tokens. First up, creatures with flying can't attack your planeswalkers you control, so we're protected from the air, which is huge because, again, we've got a great ground force. At the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm creature token. Yeah, again, basically, that is just basically, hey, make a 7/7 trampler every single one of our end steps, which, of course, again, fully reduces the cost of our commander's ability. Selesneologist, another great card in this deck. Pay 2 and a green, exile target creature card from a graveyard, then populate. So first up, this can be great graveyard hate. Again, maybe against, a reanimator deck, some aristocrat style decks as well that utilize their graveyards. Yeah, just being able to get rid of creatures in our opponent's graveyards can be huge, but of course populating, again, which is create a token that's a copy of a creature token we control, is massive. It's a great way to get even more copies of our creatures, which of course allows us to flood the board quite quickly. So yeah, we can make our massive worm army even more massive and deadly. But now, the real focus of this deck is to untap our commander a ton, to keep utilizing it again and again and again, because again, that is a fantastic ability that once we get that cost reduced the first time down to either 2 or even 1, we can really use and abuse it. So we've got some, repeatable, untap effects like Copperhorn Scout, Civic Gardener, and Seeker of Skybreak. Copperhorn Scout, a simple 1/1 Elf Scout that has, whenever it attacks, untap each other creature you control. So it's kind of like a pseudo-vigilance for our army as well. But of course, yeah, just untap Baru, be able to use that ability again to make another worm. Civic Gardener, whenever it attacks, you untap target creature or land. So early on, we can actually use this for ramping. Again, we can just untap a land if we need to. But later on, yeah, we can just attack with it and then untap our commander. Now, yes, we are going to be sending it into danger. That's okay. Even if we just get 1 untap out of this, it's going to be worth it. But one that we don't have to send into danger to untap our commander is Seeker of Skybreak. Very simply, tap, untap, target creature. So keep in mind, of course, this can even benefit from those other mass untap effects like Copperhorn Scout to, use this to untap our commander an additional time in a turn. Next up, we've got Quirion Ranger, which says return a force you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature, activate only once each turn. So yeah, bringing 1 force back to our hand is no big deal. Again, we've got plenty of great ways to ramp to get way ahead on lands, bounce one of those back to our hand, and suddenly we get to untap our commander essentially for free. Scrib Ranger, hey, basically the exact same thing. Return a force you control to your hand, untap creature, activate only once each turn. Yeah, again, very worth it. Flash, Flying Protection, Blue, well, those are nice, but again, the important part is that repeatable untap effect. Speaking of which, Jandor's Saddlebags, pay 3, tap, untap, target creature. Well worth that amount, again, when we are going to be making a lot of 6/6 worms again and again and again. And yeah, if they are 7/7 worms, even better, because again, if we have the additional Anthem effect like Gaia's Anthem, we get that cost reduction. I mean, basically in a single turn, just assuming that is the case, we can make 2 worms for just 5 mana in total. A single green, pay 3 to tap to untap, and then a single green again. So yeah, we can make a massive army quite quickly with a lot of untap effects. So, of course, we are nowhere near done with our untap effects just yet, and yeah, we've got a lot of incredibly efficient and effective ones that are one-off effects like Burst of Strength, Stony Strength, and Ornamental Courage. Hey, put a +1 counter to our creature, untap it. That is exactly what Burst of Strength and Stony Strength do. And then Ornamental Courage, sure, untap that creature, gets +1/+3 until end of turn. Regardless of what the effect is, yeah, getting those counters on our commander is nice, or, temporarily pumping our commander is nice, and can actually help out with blocks too. But the most important part is, hey, let's just untap our commander for incredibly cheaply. Again, even if our commander is only getting that regular cost reduction from our worms, if they are 6/6s, that is still just 5 mana in total in combination with one of these cards to make 2 worms. And again, if we have that full cost reduction, again, within Gaia's Anthem or whatnot, that is just 3 mana in total to make 12 total power. Actually, sorry, math real quick here. 14 total power. So yeah, things can get out of control quite quickly. So of course, we're also going to be running Vines of the Recluse, Sudden Spinnerets, and Emerald Charm, all of which are incredible at just 1 mana, allowing us to untap our commander, +1/+2, and reach for Vines of the Recluse. Sudden Spinnerets, +1/+3 until end of turn, a reach counter on it as well, so permanent reach. That's nice. Most importantly, again, untap it. Or Emerald Charm, hey, this one's actually quite old, quite flexible too. Untap target permanent, nice. Destroy target global enchantment, so basically a non-aura enchantment. Or target creature loses flying until end of turn, all of which are relevant in games, but yeah, hey, at the very least, just untap your commander for a single mana. Speaking of a single mana, Vitalize, untap every single creature you control. Again, this can come in huge, again, in combination with a Seeker of Skybreak or something like that. Aim high, 2 mana, untap target creature, +2/+2 reach until end of turn. Bull Strength, +2/+2 trample until end of turn, untap. 2 mana, again, still very effective, very efficient, at the very least, again, with regular cost reduction. That is, 6 mana in total for 2 6/6s? Yeah, sign me up for that. Speaking of which, Savage Surge, hey, +2/+2 until end of turn, untap it, steady aim, +1/+4 reach, untap, which is what, +3/+3 reach, untap. Again, the amounts really don't matter all that much. Sometimes they might help in combat, yes. But yeah, the most important thing is they are cheap ways to untap our commander. Next up, Gift of Growth. If we can kick it if we really want to, +2/+2 if it's not kicked, +4/+4 if it is kicked. But yeah, again, untap. Buddhist Seiju. This one can actually pump our commander quite a bit. +X/+X on turn, X the greatest mana value among permanents you control, untap it. I mean, if we just have our commander in play, sure, +4/+4, that's nice. If we have like Sandworm Convergence in play, that can be even bigger. So yeah, we've got some decently sized permanents that we can utilize with this. And finally, at 3 mana, we've got Colossal Heroics, Synchronized Strike, and Touch of Vitae. Colossal Heroics does have Strive, so again, if we've got that Seeker of Skybreak in play, we can untap that as well by paying extra mana. Basically, +2/+2, untap creatures. Synchronized Strike, untap 2 creatures, +2/+2. So again, Seeker of Skybreak can really come in handy with that. Touch of Vitae, this one is old and quite weird. Basically, we give a creature the ability to untap once in a turn, and we also draw a delayed card, essentially draw at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep too. So yeah, 3 mana to untap and then get a draw eventually. What's not to love? But of course, how are we going to get to all these incredible cards? Well, first up, we've got some simple draw spells. I mean, Harmonize, hey, draw 3 cards. Yep. Sermonic Revelation. Again, we've got a ton of ways to make a ton of worms and have a massive army. So we're going to draw a card for each creature we control and also gain a ton of life. Gain 4 life for each creature you control, power 4 or greater, which again, all of our worms are definitely going to meet that requirement. So again, a lot of cards, a lot of life. Moving on, Hunter's Insight. 3 mana, 2-star creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. Again, if we can get one of our worms just through, again with 6 power, that is draw 6 for 3 mana. Yeah, that can be great. Speaking of which, Life's Legacy. Sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to its power. So again, 2 mana, draw 6. Momentous Fall. Instant that can help us out in a somewhat similar way. Sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to power, gain life equal to toughness. So draw 6, gain 6. Yeah, sign me up for that. How about some repeatable draw effects, though, with Idol of Oblivion, Colossal Majesty, and Keeper Fables? Idol of Oblivion has tap, draw a card, activate only if you create a token this turn, and yeah, we're going to be doing that a lot. Colossal Majesty. Hey, at the beginning of your upkeep, you got a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Again, all of our worms are going to have power 4 or greater, so yeah, we meet that requirement. And Keeper Fables, hey, if you have a non-human creature, like a worm, deal combination to a player, you draw a card. So yeah, whenever one or more happen, essentially, we get that, which means that if we swing at all of our opponents and get through on all of them with our worms, that is draw 3 per turn with this. Now, as good as these cards are, there is one, in my opinion, that stands by the rest, and that is the Golden Pig of this deck. And the Golden Pig, the number 1 card ever 99, is Garruk's Pack Leader. It's a 4/4 beast that costs 4 and a green that says, whenever the creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under control, you may draw a card. So, yeah, we're going to be drawing that card a lot with this, because every single time we activate our commander, we draw a card thanks to this. So we can, again, basically, activate our commander, draw a card, maybe draw into an untap spell, utilize that for our commander to, untap it, then do it again, draw another card, maybe another untap spell, and you see where this is going. This can be a fantastic engine that can really fuel this deck. So yeah, Garruk's Pack Leader, in my opinion, is definitely worthy of the title of Golden Pig. But now that we've talked about digging through our deck, utilizing our strategy, let's talk about some ways to actually throw a wrench in our opponent's strategy. And we're going to start things off with a Broken Bond. Destroy an artifact or enchantment, and ramp by getting a land from our hand into play. Return to nature, destroy an artifact or an enchantment, or exile card from a graveyard. Very flexible, very versatile. Next up, Frozen Grip. Split second, so our opponents basically can't react to it. Destroy any artifact or enchantment. Moving on, we've got Beast Within. Destroy any permanent. We give them a 3/3 beast. That is absolutely nothing in a game of Commander. Yeah, definitely worth it in a lot of scenarios. Inscription of Abundance. Hey, another flexible spell. If we kicked it, we can choose any number. But if not, we're just going to be choosing 1, 2 counters on a creature, making a player gain X life or X the greatest power in creatures they control. So yeah, we can gain a lot of life with this, or we can make one of our creatures fight target creature we don't control. So basically a 2-mana KO spell on a creature. Cankerbloom, hey, pay 1, sacrifice it, destroy an artifact or enchantment, or proliferate. And again, we've got some ways to get counters on creatures, so this can come in handy in a lot of circumstances. Next up, Outland Liberator. We've got a 2/2 that we can pay 1 to sacrifice, kind of like Cankerbloom again. Destroy an artifact or an enchantment, but once this flips over to Frenzy Trap Breaker, it's even deadlier. The exact same thing, and of course on top of that, whenever it attacks, we also destroy an artifact or enchantment that defending player controls. So this can take out a lot of pesky permanents. Speaking of which, we've got Kogla the Titanape. When it ETBs, it's going to take out one of our opponent's creatures, fighting a creature we don't control, and then we can also destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls whenever it attacks. And on top of that, we can pay 1 in a green to bounce a human we control back to our hand, like our commander, to protect it, and also to give this indestructible as well. And then we've got some mass removal. Fade from History. Hey, everyone who's gotten an artifact or an enchantment, you get 1/2/2 bear. And by the way, all those artifacts and enchantments are gone. Speaking of gone, Nevermor's Disc, a great panic button for us. Enters battlefield tapped, pay 1 tap, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. So again, a panic button when we need it. But now that we've talked about every single non-land card in this deck, let's talk about the lands. And first up, we've got an MDFC land with Call to Ambush. Again, a great fight spell or land when we need it. Blast Zone, enters battlefield with a charge counter on it. We can get more charge counters on it, and we can pay 3 tap and sacrifice to destroy all non-land permanents that have a mana value equal to those charge counters. So this can definitely help us out in a lot of scenarios. Moving on, Rogue's Passage. Make a creature unblockable. What's not to love about that? Monster Bridge. Hey, if you've got 10 or more power, you can use that hideaway card that you're getting. Very easy for us to get to that point. Underneath the Vastwood, this can help out with power as well. We can tap and put a +1 counter on each green creature into the battlefield this turn, which again, can be quite a lot once we're set up properly. And then we've got Mirror Landscape and Blighted Woodland, each of which can help us ramp by getting more lands into play. And finally, we're going to round this deck out with basic lands with, of course, forests. And like I mentioned at the start of this episode, every single card in this deck, including the commander, is less than $1, so it's a very budget-friendly build at just $26.29. And keep in mind that cost does include basic lands at 10 cents a piece, so you might have some extra savings there if you already have those basic lands. And speaking of extra savings, you might potentially be able to save even more by buying this deck on TCG Player and utilizing heavily played and damaged cards, which of course need a home too, though do keep in mind this cost does not include the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. And with that, today's episode is coming to a close, so yeah, comment below and let me know what your thoughts are on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.